to this bonus episode of the 94twenty podcast, where today we'll be talking all about the pandemic that's going on, how it's affected the music industry, and exactly what you're going to get out of us as we launch the 94twenty podcast. So, good evening, everyone. I got Carl Alaco and Greg Riggle here with me. I myself am Nicole. Hi, I'm Nicole Hoagland. And we're going to dazzle you with our knowledge that we have of what's going on in the music industry with the pandemic that's going on and how we, as us three people, are going to be different.
Is that correct English? As us three people?
It doesn't.
Do that again.
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
After she said dazzle.
We have sound effects now, people.
There you go.
So basically, this is going to be the Greg Riggle. We're going to argue with Greg Riggle podcast. We're just going to let Greg Riggle talk, and I'm just going to argue with him. So you can start, Greg. Go ahead.
The reason, as you know, the reason I agreed to do this is because there's going to be a new Greg Riggle out there in the marketplace. I'm actually going to be opinionated, and I'm going to try to win people over with my personality. So,
and there's going to be a new Carl Alaco. I'm going to be agreeable and just, nice.
That's a lie.
This is just not going to work.
So go ahead. No, so how are you guys doing? I'm up here in New York City, which is kind of supposedly, one of the epicenters here of this. It's kind of, personally, I'm not that affected by it. Just got to wait online to go to the store. But, the main stores are open for me as far as, just getting food and stuff. And the city's pretty quiet, but I work from home anyway. So personally, I'm not that, readily affected by it. But it's really kind of getting eerie here, though, now. Subways are basically halted, buses are really not really running. You don't see many yellow cabs. So it's kind of a weird time here in Manhattan.
I'm intrigued by that to some degree because have you ever seen those videos that people shoot? A lot of them are on YouTube. They're like forgotten places or abandoned places and abandoned amusement parks and things like that. It's like, I don't know why, but I'm just drawn to that stuff, and I will watch that stuff for hours on end. And it's just, what is it? Dystopia.
So the point?
The point being, maybe we're going that direction. There are probably a lot more abandoned places now than there have ever been. But I guess people will be filing.
I think what this kind of does, as a society, it crystallizes, necessities. What's really important. What do you really need to survive? What do you really need to do? I don't know.
I have a very cynical view of all of this. I don't think that the people that needed to be introspective after something like this occurring, they won't be. And the people that sat around and worried about the human condition, they're even more on a ledge now. So that's my take. I'm pretty cynical about it all.
We basically just entered the Hunger Games. So that's kind of what you were describing, Greg, in the dystopian stuff.
Yeah, it's, I think it's bizarre. I think that I
have to cut you off, which I do a lot. But, but knowing how society is, as soon as we can, we're in the Hunger Games now, but we're going to go back to Weekend at Bernie's as soon as we can, because people are just people and they're going to want, their stupid stuff. And
I think there is something to be said for the fact that, will the rampant consumerism that we live in and the extraordinary degree to which capitalism has taken over everybody's life. I mean, will there be any impact on that? Will people realize that they can get by without, an $8 cup of coffee every morning? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm just
well, it would be nice to think it could change. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say, I mean, like you said, it would be nice if it could change, but I don't think it will. I think the people who know that they can get by with less are already doing that. And the people who are dying for their $8 mocha latte almond venti cappuccino are just like itching at the skin to get out the door whenever
And
they
as soon
can.
as
And
it's
it's
available again, they'll get it. Go right for it. Oh my God.
exactly.
I can't believe I lived without this for a month and a half.
Exactly. Instead of the other perspective of, I can live without this for 3 weeks, so why continue?
Yep.
What do you think of now I have a weird thing. This is kind of I bring it into artists and music, and kind of a weird take and taking a left turn. What do you think about all these people, all these famous artists doing all these, live from their homes, for TV, and the famous ones, like the big ones, like I think it's almost self-aggrand. I almost think it's almost ego. It's not even helping.
I think it's more mentally they're helping people at least try and figure out what like normal is now. So like going and playing and whatnot because they're not playing shows and they're not doing anything right now. Maybe also helps them have a sense of normalcy. But I do think that there's some like in the back there's a little bit of ego with that because they want to make sure that they're out there and they're being heard and they're being seen. Case in
Right.
point, did you see Jimmy Fallon's live from home with Lady Gaga's conversation? I like saw it in the news briefly.
Was it kind of a
It was-
self-ego?
It was so apparently they had talked before and Lady Gaga was supposed to make this big announcement about something that is going on in her music career on the show. And as he's doing it, which is live because they're doing it through a phone, she's like, I can't. And she's on her phone with like her publicist and her team who are telling her she can't talk about it. And it's just very awkward.
What do you mean? Can't talk about what?
Just bizarre.
I don't know what she couldn't talk about. I don't know if she even said anything after the fact, but apparently she was supposed to make some sort of announcement and then they stopped her.
My feeling is, these are all rich rock stars, Why don't they all just go in their bank account and be quiet about it and just give up $100,000 each and don't have to make it like, look what I'm doing. I don't know. It seems like.
Well, I think there's a lot of philanthropy in the music industry.
It probably is, right.
among those folks that are wealthy and have become wealthy as recording artists. I think there's a lot of philanthropy that goes on, but I think they're in between a rock and a hard place because.
If they don't do anything, they say, where are they?
Lady
Right.
Gaga is actually an interesting case study because I think that she ascended to such extraordinary heights in her career because she deployed this whole mystery thing. I mean, rock stars and pop stars, there used to be an air of mystery about them. And that drew people in. And I think she did that early in her career. But you have to keep feeding the beast. You have to keep engaging your audience that you've built. And if you do that enough, there's almost a kind of a pulling away of the curtain, and you force your audience to realize it's like, hey, she's a real person like everybody else. And I've been doing a lot of listening since we've been sheltering in place.
Wait, are we sheltering in place or are we safer at home? Because I feel like sheltering in place is more for tornadoes.
I don't know. There's a mass confusion out there as to what that term means. Sheltering in place, I think it's presumed that you only do that for a short period of time. Something along the lines.
Get to your
anyway,
point.
My point is this. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of listening, and I am continually amazed at the artistry of David Bowie.
Well, you have no argument for me there.
So, but here's my question. So, what would Bowie be doing under these current circumstances? Would he be
nothing? He'd be doing nothing.
I don't think that you would be seeing him.
You wouldn't be seeing
in
Bowie
his boudoir doing an acoustic version of Space Oddity. I don't believe that would be the case.
Well, he never did. He never did for other things that happened. He was always kind of reclusive. He was kind of cool.
So is your original premise that you're kind of creeped out by these artists with huge followings? These artists kind of stepping down from their pedestals and like becoming one of us for for a couple months. I don't think that would be occurring with some of these people that built this incredible mystique inside their artist career. I just don't.
We know this industry. To make it at that level in this industry is amazing. I give her that. But I'm just taking all that away. I'm saying it's her artistry. She acts like she's this artistic person, and she's ba ba wah ba 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 ba. Yeah, come on. You know,
Well,
All right, so we agree. She's a hard worker.
wait. You might have to cut that. We might have to license that.
Yeah. But so we agree. She's a hard worker.
hard worker,
She
and all the power to her.
to get
I
there.
just personally,
But personally, you do not enjoy her talents.
Well, interesting. Have you read about somebody that has audience at the same scale, or maybe more, would be Taylor Swift, and she's gotten a huge amount of positive press associated with how she's reacted to.
well, I like her because I think she's more genuine. Well, you know, and maybe she just seems realer. She's not walking around with meat, you know, or wrapping herself or pretending to be an actress.
What did you think about the Barbara Streisand, Chris Christopherson movie?
See, that don't get me started now. They're really going to be haters here because I fight with my girlfriend about this all the time.
I love that movie.
I don't believe
I love the Chris Christopherson.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't believe I have a problem with that movie in one reason. I don't believe Chris Christopherson would be attracted to Barbara Streisand. I'm sorry. I don't buy it.
That's interesting.
But isn't that the whole point? But isn't that the whole point of acting, though? They don't have to be attracted to each other.
You can't act beautiful. I'm sorry. I think Chris Christopherson could do better.
Oh my goodness, the gracious! This is
fine.
both why I wanted to do this.
I think Barbara Streisand has an amazing voice. I think she's funny. She's a wonderful actress. But I don't think she's the prettiest girl, you know, at the party. And
But do you have to be the prettiest girl at the party to have someone be attracted to you?
When you're rock stars like that, yeah, you do.
Okay.
I thought it was a cool movie. John Newton. What was it? John Newton Howard Speedway.
Yeah. Wasn't he the first one with Frederick March and Judy Garland or something?
Yeah. That's right.
Anyway, let's talk about Nashville and country music. That's what we're supposed to be about, right?
Oh, really? No, I didn't.
Apparently.
I can't think of anything more boring.
Well, what I wanted to talk about was you know, some of the people that passed because of this, and one of them, legendary John Prine. And I'd like you to talk about that more, Greg, because to be honest with you, being a New Yorker, I got to admit this. I know of his stature in Nashville as a writer, and I get some of his stuff, but I kind of missed out on him. Yeah. Personally, I never really got to experience much of him. You know, like we talked the other day, he's more like you said, the Southern Dylan. You know, and I, you know, so.
Well, I think that he.
Explain to me why, you know, he is who he was.
I think he absolutely. Well, I mean, he came to prominence in a period where you could make a hardcore folk record with beautifully written songs, which were in effect folk songs. And he came to prominence in a period where the major labels, CBS in this case, they would give people like that a record deal. And so he had a very large following, but it's interesting. He was an extraordinary writer. He was a wonderful person. Really kind of like I've read that he's been described as a Steinbeck of writers, and I think that's true of music, of songwriters. And but what's interesting to me is that, you know, over the last 30 years, I mean, I actually had a chance to talk to him on a couple of occasions, and he was just amazing. He was just a force. His intellect, he had a sense of humor that comes through in his songs. But what's interesting is that I have talked to many people throughout my career that didn't know who John Prine was. And that it always kind of surprised me a little bit. It's like, you've never heard the songs this guy's written, and you know, you confirm that for me, that it's like, you know, I'm a New Yorker. I mean, it was kind of, there was too much going on when in 1971, 72 that you know, I just never picked up on him. I missed out, you know.
Right.
And you know, he just if you go back and you listen, I mean, he
Is it
wrote
the depth of his simplicity? You know what I mean?
exactly. I think it's
Because his stuff is so like it's almost like simple to the point where it's like so profound. You know what I mean?
well, it's. I think it's storytelling, and I've heard him talk about this. He did interviews about how he approached his writing, and he liked to be a storyteller, but he also liked to leave a lot of room for interpretation in the songs that he wrote. If you take a song like Sam Stone, which became kind of an iconic, ironic war protest song about a Vietnam vet that was a heroin addict.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like he talked about that song. He's like, what could be the most hopeless couplet that I could write?
That's a good one. I just Googled that one line right there, and that's what comes up. There's a hole in Daddy's arms where all the money goes.
Yep.
Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Yeah, the coupling of those two things, that's huge.
Exactly.
That says volumes, right? You're right. That's great.
And the other thing that line knocks me out about is, I always talked when I worked with songwriters, always talked about conservation of lyric, and don't put anything in there that you don't need. Don't put anything in there that will get in the way. And if you look at that first line, there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. He could have said there's a hole in Sam Stone's arm, but no, he said Daddy. So now we've got to think about.
Well, yeah. What I love, like, which as a writer myself, what I love about, I know where you're going, I think, is that I love. It's not the words. It's not the words you write. It's what it makes you think that is deep. Not so much what you say. It's what you say makes you think about. That's where the deepness comes in.
And he could do that in so many ways. And through, I mean, the humor is just. I would, anybody that doesn't know John Prine, I would suggest they go out and listen to the first 3 or 4 albums, and they
very simple to record it too, like acoustic guitar, piano, exactly. not much going on at all.
It's folk music, man, and it's right. But then they should go out and look for other things that might not come up in the top 25. A song called "Let's Talk Dirty" in Hawaiian.
Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. That's a great line.
Man, I mean, these lines just go forever.
I've just become a fan, man. Goodness.
And Carl, I've got to clue you in on something about John Prine that you didn't know, and I assume you didn't know. Do you know what he did as one of his many vocations before he became a singer-songwriter artist?
I have no idea.
He was a mailman.
Oh.
What? So because I was a mailman?
You were a mailman.
Well, so was what? So a lot of people were mailmen. I did it for a couple of years.
My whole family's mailman.
Yeah.
I don't know many mailmen, singer-songwriter artists. I don't. I don't.
Now you know.
I thought it was a little bit of serendipity, and you should go back and listen. There's some amazing.
Well, that's really cool. And we got to talk about too real quick. We'd love to play some of this music on the podcast, but we're not going to, or we can't legally. And let's discuss why. Let's kind of bring out why.
Yeah, this is this has been an issue for.
I think it's a good issue. It's a good reason. We could play the music illegally and probably get away with it, but we choose not to. And you're going to explain why.
Well, I think that it is important to me, and I think it should be important to anybody that if the premise behind this podcast is that we're here to celebrate the music we love, and we're here to talk about the music that we love.
In the business we tolerate.
And the business we tolerate, exactly. So if that's the premise of this, it would be an unfortunate circumstance if we were to throw up our hands and say, you know what, it's too difficult to license that music for this podcast. Therefore, we're just going to go ahead and put it up. Right. We have to be stewards of copyright, because at the end of the day, regardless how difficult it is to license, at the end of the day, we want a penny or two back into the hands of the people that created this stuff. So there has not been in the history of podcasting a licensing process that you could go through easily and actually, be given the proposition of having the music in the podcast and licensed, fully authorized. that hasn't existed. So people are working on it. I actually have a client in my consulting business that I'm working pretty closely with them on this issue.
That we're
Uh,
working with. That we're working with.
so yeah, exactly. So what we intend to do for 9420 is we intend to work through that platform. The parent company is called Source Audio, and the platform is podcastmusic.com. There's currently over 700,000 tracks up there that are pre-cleared and you can use by subscription.
And get paid for them.
And the creators and the artists, the publishers, the production companies, they're paid.
What a novel idea.
Yeah, exactly. So the next step, of course, is the next step is the rights holders that have aggregated tons of rights, the major labels, the major publishers. The next step is to have them provide podcasters a proposition where you could license 3 or 4 tracks of John Prine's music and also be compensated. But to date, that transactional platform is still in development. So
basically, moving forward, just let everybody know, all the music that you're going to hear on our podcast was licensed.
We have a music license to perform the music on the podcast. That's correct.
And those artists will get paid for it, right?
Because we want to do everything 100% legal.
Yep.
And what's right for the artist? Because I think this gets back to like the artist. I still don't know what's going on with some of these streaming services. I don't want to name names, Spotify, but how the way it changes, and it's today in this digital age, as you know, Greg, everything can be easily just
tracked or watermarked.
Yeah, so there's no reason why there should be discrepancies. Your music should be easily tracked. You should easily be able to get paid. It shouldn't be a big deal, but what are you going to do?
Well, you always, when you look into licensing, you always have to be able to determine what the value of the authorization actually is. So if we put something in a podcast, if we put a piece of music in a podcast and we have 15 downloads on the episode, the rights holders they're not damaged. If we put their music in a podcast that has 15 million downloads, you could start to look at the damages incurred by us not having the authorization to use it.
Right.
So
Nicole, so changing subjects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I like that better than mine. Yeah.
What do you think artists can do right now? We're going through this quarantine or stay-at-home thing. What do you think we can tell artists to do to help them keep their career going? What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
We'll go to town.
Some good, some better than good. So when it comes to what the artists are doing now, and we've kind of talked about this, the three of us, a little bit in the past, I think one of the things that they're doing right now, and it's so crowded and there's so much noise right now that a lot of the times I feel like artists aren't being able to be seen, especially when it comes to doing like Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives and doing the virtual shows, as they would call it.
Right.
Those things I do not think are doing them any good. Case in point, the Red Clay Strays, who are now doing a COVID relief fund on the Bandwango platform, they were doing the lives beforehand and they were not necessarily generating revenue that way. Lo and behold, they get on our platform and they were already at 22%, I think 22% of their goal. So I think when it comes to the lives and stuff like that, it's making sure that when you're doing it, that the content is the quality that your fans want, is number one, because you as yourself and as an artist, you're your brand. And if you're putting out content that's crap, pardon my French, it's not necessarily going to resonate.
It just gets polluted. The whole field gets polluted with all these sitting in your living room with your iPhone playing some songs, and most of them are pretty much amateur, so.
I mean, and with that too, it'll go to show too, just how engaged your audience is too. If they're commenting, if they're liking, if they're sharing, your audience is wanting that. If they're not doing that, then there probably needs to take a step back and say, okay, what do I need to do? And the three things that I have seen artists really hone into that have at least had forward movement is one, making sure that you're writing constantly, because this is the time and place, because you literally can't go anywhere. And whether that's through co-writing sessions that can be done through FaceTime or Skype, or the application, the We Should Write Sometime, or that's a really good way to kind of keep the creative juices flowing. Two, if you're really having a hard time, go to bandwango.com and fill out an application for the COVID music relief funds that we're doing for artists, because that's a quick way to generate revenue to keep you afloat until this is all over with. And then
we're not taking our full percentage.
We're not taking our full percentage. We're taking 1% plus the processing fees, just so that we can keep our lights on. But it helps in being able to keep you afloat, and that when this is over with, you have maybe some extra cash to start doing things that you were supposed to do, whether that's getting in the studio and recording, or submitting your single to radio, or whatever you were supposed to be doing this time. And three, it's really actually kind of taking a step back and figuring out what you even want to do. I've had conversations with artists who they strategize. They don't really know what to do right now, because everything got put to a halt so quickly for them, and shows got canceled, and income got halted based off of maybe some side jobs. So really strategizing on what you want to do and how you want to take your career to the next level. And if you don't know,
and then when this is done, then you just put the plan into action.
Exactly. And learn. A lot of the things that you can do right now, you can start picking up and learning, whether that's another skill or something that you don't think you're extremely good at. Maybe it's guitar skills or whatnot. But those things too is just learning as much as you possibly can, because we all have so much time now.
What are your thoughts, Greg?
I've talked to a few artists that I've worked with through the years, and they've all run the playbook. I mean, they've got good social followings. They've all been very successful at lucrative house concerts, and they've basically hit the road at a point in their career where they would, I think, rather be at home and working on an album and then doing a larger tour, but they've had to tour more smaller venues in order to make the income that sustains them.
Yeah, but we're talking about now, when they can't do any of those things.
So I think that I agree with you. I think there's a lot of noise. And quite frankly, most artists were doing Facebook Live long before this virus appeared. So what I've been discussing with them is like kind of doubling down on the fan engagement portion of what they've worked on the last couple years, and actually do it in a creative way. So we came up with the concept of find the creators inside your fan base, and then contact them about some collaborations. So one guy in particular, I mean, I think he's an extraordinary artist, and he has a lot of creative people that follow what he does. So he's reached out to say, hey,
all right, you were telling me this, yeah.
Send me photographs. Send me some stuff that you might want to,
like, not just music. You're saying like cross platform.
Send me some video you shot recently. I mean, send me your poems. Send me. So you do a creative collaboration with some of your fan base, and I think that'll make for much more engaging content. Plus, these people at their core are creators, so it opens up another world to you. If you ever were an art, a lot of music people and a lot of artists actually paint. So if you're an artist,
messy. That's too messy for me.
I failed seventh grade art, so there's no hope there.
I mean, put your mask on and go down to Michael's and buy a couple of canvases. And
I eat.
Yeah, there you go. That creative eating, right?
That's what I've been doing lately.
So I think those fan collaborations are a good idea.
I just had a question that I think is a good one. I noticed a lot of artists, and they've been doing this not just now, but they've been doing it for like since I've been doing Instagram. They do these fan versions or cover versions of hit songs. They're out there right now. Are they illegally using those licenses? Like, what I'm saying?
Once the song's been released, I mean, anybody can make their version of it. You just have to get the appropriate license.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I don't think no one's getting that license. People are just on Instagram playing the song and putting it out there.
Well, if the rights holders have a deal with Instagram that every time that piece of music appears, regardless what the cover is, then it'll probably pass.
Well, do they? Do you know they do?
Otherwise, it'll get taken down. So
they're never taken down.
Yeah. So
I'm just asking you because that happens a lot. You know what I'm talking about, Nicole, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people they'll a new Taylor Swift song comes out, so then you see a lot of new young female artists, will cover it and play it, and you'll see these full covers of these songs. There's thousands of them, and are they illegally using those licenses?
I can tell you that if you do a cover version of something and it's not in content, or rather it is in Content ID, and you don't have the authorization to do it, it'll get taken down off of your YouTube channel.
Well, YouTube is pretty much they're more, than Instagram is, I think, quite honestly.
Well, Instagram actually lately has been policing where they've actually taken down lots of stories that have either had background music in, or they weren't using it through Spotify, or if you were doing a cover and it wasn't necessarily your own, but it was someone who had a label behind them, they are actually starting to police that and taking that stuff down.
Okay.
Those services that you mentioned, they've started to use a platform out there, an API out there, that in effect provides the licensing for 30 seconds use, or between 5 seconds and 30 seconds use of popular music that you would choose. The platforms are actually becoming licensed for that now.
That's it. So I think we should, it's getting we're getting a little long now. You want to kind of wrap it up, Nicole?
Well, I mean, I think this is a bonus episode. So for everyone listening, get ready because this is going to be in your ears weekly.
This has been.
Yes, this is.
I need more sounds
weekly. But we're really excited to be able to bring you the artists that we love and really talk about the business that we tolerate, because obviously you can tell we all have our different opinions about certain things.
I know. I'm going to get the most hate mail probably.
It's fine. I mean, you are probably going to get death threats from Lady Gaga's army, but that may take a while.
What are they called? They're called monsters.
Monsters, yeah, her monsters. But we're really excited to be able to bring you this type of content. We're really be able to license the music now and be able to give back to the artists. So make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you download, make sure that you tune in as much as you possibly can. And if you want more, just go to the 94, which is the actual numbers 9 and 4, 20.com to learn more, and tune in next week.
Sounds good. Is that it?
That's
Bye,
it.
y'all.
Bye. One last.
Wow, that's
bye, everybody.
Overused. Bye.
Bye.